Hi, I'm Lance Armstrong, and I'm hosting Saturday Night Live this week with musical guest Sheryl Crow.
That's all I am to you? A musical guest?
Soak up the sun. I've got a crummy job. It don't pay near enough to buy the things it takes to win me some of your love. Every time I turn around, I'm looking up, you're looking down. Maybe something's wrong with you that makes you act the way you do.
Lance was brash, unapologetic, a fierce competitor built from rage and self-belief. And for a while, we loved him for it. He wasn't just a winner, he was a survivor. He made the tour feel like the Super Bowl. And he made cycling cool in America. Briefly.
This is my body, and I can do whatever I want to it. I can push it, study it, tweak it. Everybody wants to know what I'm on. What am I on? I'm on my bike, busting my ass 6 hours a day. What are you on?
Listen to this, LA Times. 100 years from now, the world probably will celebrate Armstrong and his athletic achievements ahead of Shaq and Kobe, Michael and Magic, McGuire, or maybe even Tiger. 100 years from now, what we are seeing Armstrong do might be considered one of the greatest athletic achievements ever. Does that register with you at all?
It's nice.
Wow.
It's, I think we'll know in 100 years.
Lance wasn't just a celebrity, and he wasn't just a cyclist. He was a builder. He assembled the strongest riders, the sharpest scientists, the most loyal staff. He created a winning machine. And for the first time, American companies cared about cycling. Trek, Nike, Oakley, Subaru. They weren't just sponsors, they were believers.
Do you want to popularize this sport?
Absolutely. I hesitate and I pause because I know it's hard. It's hard to do that in America when you're up against the staples of sport in America. Football,
golf, tennis,
baseball,
NBA.
basketball. You got the But of course I want that. I want participation at the youth level, even at the adult level in races. And I want growth in the industry. Of course I want to popularize it. Is it possible? That I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. I firmly, and I've said this forever, I believe that sports are built on athletes. And we've just talked about Tiger, we don't need to look any further than Tiger Woods. Look at what he's done to golf. He did that because he's the athlete, he's the personality, and young people are into golf because of Tiger.
At its height, Lance was American cycling. He was the system. And behind the scenes, Lance built a pipeline, a junior development system for American talent. Riders like Taylor Phinney, Lawson Craddock, they all came through the system. And many of them still credit Lance for what he built.
What did cancer do?
Well, many things scared me, probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Really, really scared me.
Well, the stakes were that big.
The stakes were big. These are big stakes, life and death.
Right.
That's the biggest stake. Then you have the stake of losing your job, losing everything you've worked for. And I was down that road as a 25-year-old. I had foregone an education. I was a professional athlete, and just realizing that all these things can be pulled from you and ultimately your life can be taken. Man, it's almost like a deal you make with yourself. That, you know, if you make it out, at least it's the deal I made with myself, that if I made it out,
Yeah. If you made it out, what?
then I would fight forever.
Lance professionalized the sport. After him, it was altitude camps in the Sierra Nevada, hypoxic tents, blood work, core temp sensors, intervals, periodization, recovery metrics, fueling strategies, everything measured, everything controlled, everything clinical. Altitude training boosts red blood cell production. So does EPO, so do transfusions. For Lance's team, it was all one system. Scientific, precise, ruthless. You train at altitude, tune the engine, then reinforce it with a transfusion weeks later. The tour was raced in July, but it was won in November, inside spreadsheets and blood labs. It was protocol, and no one did it better. But it's important for us to be honest about the era. Later investigations suggest that over 80% of top riders from the late 90s and early 2000s were doping. Of the top 10 finishers in the 2003 tour, 9 were later linked to doping. Even the entire 2004 Olympic time trial podium was sanctioned. You couldn't win if you didn't dope.
Those guys in the old days, they won them all. I mean, Merckx would win the Liège, Paris-Roubaix, Tour of Italy, Tour de France. I mean, he just dominated.
Can Lance do that?
No.
He can't do that because what?
Because the sport is, there's more good riders now. This is my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. It's a deep field now. If I tried to do that, maybe it is possible, but if I tried, and if my form peaked too early, and I came down, say I went over that hump we spoke about,
right,
and I came down for the Tour de France, and I just wasn't sharp enough, and I lost, everybody would be disappointed.
Lance Armstrong was born in 1971. A gifted endurance athlete, he was racing triathlons by his teens. He turned pro at 21. In 1993, he won the World Championship. And 2 years later, he was diagnosed with testicular cancer. It had spread to his lungs, his brain. Doctors gave him a 50% chance of survival. He survived. And when he came back, he wasn't the same rider. Before cancer, he was a stocky time trialist, powerful on the flats, built for one-day classics. After cancer, he shed weight, rebuilt himself, became something else entirely, a Grand Tour contender. In 1999, he returned to the Tour de France and won. Then he kept winning. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. He retired at the top of the sport, then came back in 2009 and finished third. But the myth was already cracking.
If you had used drugs, whatever they are, would your performance have been better?
The speeds I rode in 99, 2000, 2001 were much faster than I ever rode in 92, 93, 94, 95, pre-illness. Much faster. In all of these years, at least especially the last two, there's been tremendous scrutiny. There's been tremendous amount of testing, and everything has been looked through. And it's clean. Everything is absolutely clean.
It has happened.
It has happened. There have been big risk takers, big ones, and ones that have been caught. Big stories, sensational stories, and we are living with that now. The biggest story ever in the sport of cycling was only 3 years ago.
What was that?
The Festina affair in the Tour de France, where the Soigneurs car was caught with just, I mean, I don't know how much stuff, I mean, just crazy amounts of stuff. It's kind of a long story, but I think most people know the story. A lot of speculation, a lot of false stories. Were no syringes. Were there? Look, in our sport, in the Tour de France, do you need an IV every few days because it's just so demanding? Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's like saying a football game, a college football game in the summertime in Florida or in Texas, I mean, do guys get dehydrated and have cramps and need IVs in the locker room at halftime? Absolutely. That's not doping.
Yeah. What is it? What is the IV?
It's recovery.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it?
Yeah.
Or what do I refer to it as?
No, when you talk about IVs, what is it?
Glucose or saline or whatever the trainer or the doctor.
It's not like it's in the same category of oxygen and everything else.
Right. But it would be intravenous. If we thought that they would never be tested, if we were such cheaters, we would have used it because there was no test.
Right.
Well, after the fact, they seize the samples, do the test. White as snow.
Disgraced American cyclist Floyd Landis has admitted to systematic use of performance-enhancing drugs and accused 7-time Tour de France champion Lance Armstrong of involvement in doping. That's according to a report in Thursday's Wall Street Journal. Landis, who won the 2006 Tour de France but was later stripped of the title for doping, has always denied cheating, until now. According to the Journal, Landis sent a series of emails to cycling officials and sponsors detailing his longtime use of banned drugs. The emails say that Landis started doping in 2002, his first year racing with the U.S. Postal Service team led by Armstrong. In one of the emails seen by the Wall Street Journal, dated April 30th, Landis claims he flew to Spain in 2003 and had 2 half-liter units of blood extracted from his body in a 3-week interval to be used later during the Tour de France. He also claims that the blood extractions took place in Armstrong's apartment, keeping the blood bags belonging to Landis, Armstrong, and another teammate in a refrigerator. Landis served a 2-year ban after testing positive for elevated testosterone levels at the 2006 Tour. He was the first rider ever to be stripped of a Tour de France title. Jim Bell, The Associated Press.
That opened the door. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency launched a full investigation. In 2012, USADA published its report. It called the USPS cycling team the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program that sport has ever seen. The UCI stripped Lance of all 7 Tour de France titles, banned him for life. And the irony? Cycling's governing body, the UCI, had protected Lance for years, ignored positive tests, took donations, looked the other way, refused to solve the doping problem in the peloton, then acted surprised when all of this information came out. But when Lance fell, they all did. The entire house of cards collapsed.
Kind of want to get to understand, I'm sure there's monumental pressure.
Yeah, I guess it's pressure in a certain way, but it doesn't always come from outside, right? By the time you get to a position where you're faced with that, you spend a lot of time in your life trying to get there, right?
Right.
And then you find out it's something different than what you were told, and
you don't want to give up.
You don't want to give up what you've already done.
Yeah.
And if that's really what it is, then what's the harm? And you can justify it. Right? I think most people would. I don't.
Floyd, I mean, to his credit, he really went for it.
You were a real go hard in that.
Oh yeah.
In that regard.
He didn't see. In a way, I was still trying to walk this strange line.
Sure.
Okay, well, I'll just put a testosterone patch on, so that I can do some work for someone that's blood doping.
I was more of the idea that, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do it and take all those risks and help someone else win. I mean, especially when that someone else is, never mind.
So no, Lance's crime wasn't that he cheated. It's that he crushed the people who told the truth. He sued whistleblowers, blacklisted teammates, went scorched earth on anyone who challenged the myth. That's the sin, not EPO.
He's just killing himself to win this thing by himself with no help. And I don't know what to say. I just feel bad for him that he's all alone.
The grand prize awaits Greg LeMond.
Who would have thought after 2,000 miles of this year's Tour de France it would come down to the final time trial of just 15 miles between Versailles and Paris? It's a battle between Greg LeMond of the United States and Laurent Fignon of France. LeMond's task to go as quickly as possible and take at least 2 seconds a kilometre away from Fignon to win this year's Tour de France. This is the most exciting and closest finish ever of the Tour.
Today, just before the start, LeMond and Fignon warm up, circling each other, wary. 2 days ago, Greg still thought he had a chance.
Oh, I'll be ready for Sunday. Yeah? I'm going to give it my all, and it's still possible to win. It's still possible. It's going to be hard, but if I have a very good day and he has a bad day, go in my favor.
LeMond is a student of his body and of the technology of his sport. There is little he doesn't understand about eating and of aerodynamics and how they have helped him in the trials so far. Having figured out the position his body must stay in, the focus he must have, Greg LeMond prepares to start the race. Quite simply, he must go faster than most think he can. What lies ahead is the Seine, the Eiffel Tower, the Place de la Concorde, the Champs-Élysées, and the finish. LeMond has covered 7 miles. Right now, he has gained 21 seconds on Fignon. He needs at least 29 more. He is passing the offices of L'Equipe, the newspaper whose lineage is traced back to one printed on yellow paper, which started the Tour de France in 1903. Yellow paper, yellow jersey. Team LeMond, son Scott, wife Kathy wait for Daddy at the finish. Scott won't remember a thing, and Daddy's trying to get home as fast as he can.
It's late afternoon, still very hot. Greg LeMond heads for the tunnel by the Seine at 30 miles an hour.
Fignon must go faster. Some way, somehow, he has to get the clock back in his favor and has 7 miles to do it. Either way, these two men, separated by less than a minute for 2 weeks and joined by comeback dreams for 3 years, are heading straight to what seems to be a photo finish. At the finish, Kathy LeMond, Greg's wife, plays the arithmetic game that everyone else is playing. Otto, the man who greets Greg LeMond every day at the finish line and hands him food and drink. 0.6 of a mile.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
The bitter victory of '86, the hunting accident, the other injuries, and the lack of confidence seems so long ago. At the finish, Greg LeMond listens to French radio analyze the numbers. He still is not sure if he was fast enough. Fignon now just over 2 football fields from the finish line, and still, Greg LeMond doesn't know which way the closest Tour de France in history is going to go. The magic time is gone, 27:47, and that means the yellow jersey for Laurent Fignon has been lost.
Did he win or not?
How does it compare, if it's possible that anything like this could compare with anything that's gone before, with 1986 when you won it?
Nothing compares. Nothing.
After all the arithmetic about the time trial, did you really think that it was going to be possible?
I thought it was possible, but when I warmed up today, I didn't think it was possible because we had such a strong tailwind. And when you have a strong tailwind, it's hard to make a difference, but I didn't know until I crossed the line. Unbelievable.
Kathy's reaction. Kathy?
I can't believe
What's
he
your
did
feeling?
it. I never
Did you think he could do it?
No. I thought like 1%. So incredible. I can't believe
How is it possible that the defending champion shows up late for the start? How is it possible Greg LeMond, with bad memories of this race and shotgun pellets in his body, can turn in the fastest one-day speed ever on the Tour? And how is it that Laurent Fignon could possibly be so strong, then give up so much time? We'll never know, but the Tours de France that will follow this one will struggle to beat this one, the one that held its greatest surprise until the last, the one starring Pedro, Laurent, and Greg.
Well, I want one last question. Truly, how excited are you about winning?
It hasn't even sunk in. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like combining World Series, Super Bowl, everything into one thing and winning it and not even, I mean, there's so much going on right now, so much press, so many people that I have to get back into my homeroom with my wife and sit back and think about it before I even realize what I've done.
A believer in science, in sportsmanship, in style. He brought Oakley to the peloton, tested gear in wind tunnels, introduced disc wheels and aero bars to the mainstream.
Greg's future looks so bright. Nothing could stop him now. Nothing except shotgun pellets to his intestines, liver, lung, diaphragm, kidney, heart lining, hands, arms, and legs. Greg was involved in a hunting accident in the spring of '87, just months before he was expected to make another run at the Tour. He very easily could have died, and it was nothing short of a miracle that he didn't. Greg said the experience was more painful than cycling, which actually doesn't make cycling sound that much fun. During his recovery, he lost 30 pounds of muscle and was left with approximately 40 pellets still in his body. It was less damaging to leave them in than try to fish them out. But again, able to do the impossible, Greg got his strength back. And not just enough to walk and live and laugh and love again, but enough to win the Tour de France again. In 1989, just 2 years after having tiny metal pellets puncture basically all his organs, he won again. It was one of the greatest comebacks in the history of sport. And just for good measure, he won in 1990 as well. His admirers were many, including a teenage Lance Armstrong, a member of the U.S. junior cycling team at the time, who said he wanted to be the next Greg LeMond. But in the '92 Tour, Greg struggled to keep up. He thought there must be something wrong with him, but it turned out something was wrong with cycling.
Greg LeMond rode a marvellous race, and the first question was, what did he think of it?
It was a great race. I mean, it was, first of all, I felt this is the best period of really physically I've had my whole career. And I felt even if we came close to the victory, I would be capable of following the best riders.
No disappointment that Gilbert won?
Oh, God, no, because, hey, if we would have caught him, would have I won? I don't know. It's too difficult to say. There were at least, I think I would have been in the top 5, but I'm certain I was the strongest riders today.
And this must have done so much for you morale now for the rest of this year.
Yeah, well, I know I've trained hard this winter. My only problem has been my weight, not fat weight. I did a lot of cross-country skiing this winter, and I had incredibly big arms for cyclists and a big back. And I'm just slowly, in the last 2-3 weeks, I felt myself lose 1 kilo. I know I lost 1 kilo just the last 2-3 weeks. And I've had difficulty in the early season on the climbs, but I knew in Paris-Roubaix my power was very good, and I knew I had a chance.
The lights were dimming. A new era was rising in cycling. And it was darker. That's the world Lance walked into. And for a while, LeMond supported him. Both survivors, both American champions, both believers in science and marginal gains. But the whispers of doping turned to roars. LeMond asked questions, first privately, then publicly. That's when Lance turned. He mocked Le Mans' weight, called him an alcoholic, pressured Trek, Le Mans' own sponsor, to cut ties with him. And they did, because Lance was king. Some say Le Mans should have stayed quiet, and I understand that, directed his anger elsewhere, handled it behind closed doors. But I think there's something noble in what he did. He spoke up when no one else would. He told the truth before it was safe. And he paid the price. That's the tragedy. Lance didn't just destroy a man. He buried a memory. A memory of what cycling might have been. A memory older than him. Once upon a time, in America, the bicycle wasn't just a toy. It was a revolution. In the 1890s, cities like Los Angeles were shaped around it. A dedicated cycleway stretched all the way from Pasadena to downtown. A road for bikes only. Men in wool suits and women in long skirts pedaled through orange groves and quiet streets. The bicycle meant freedom, mobility, modernity. But it was also a tool for adventure. In 1897, the US Army tested whether bicycles could replace horses. So they sent the 25th Infantry, the Buffalo Soldiers, on a 1,900-mile expedition from Montana to St. Louis. Steel bikes, fixed gears, mud, rivers, mountain passes. They proved it was possible to cross a country on two wheels. The Army didn't adopt it, but the riders made history. Around the same time, Marshal Major Taylor was making his own. Born in 1878, he became the first black world champion in professional cycling. He set 7 world records. He raced in packed velodromes from Boston to Berlin. He faced sabotage on the track and threats off of it, bans that kept him from racing. But he kept riding, and by 1901, he was one of the fastest men alive. Then in 1939, a 17-year-old girl named Ruth Orkin left Los Angeles alone on a bike, headed for the New York World's Fair. She carried a camera, took photographs. Weeks later, sunburned and triumphant, she arrived. And Ruth Orkin would go on to become one of the great photographers of the 20th century. But first, she was just a girl on a bike crossing a continent. For a while, cycling was America. But the 20th century buried the bicycle. Freeways carved up cities, sidewalks vanished. In Los Angeles, the car became mandatory. To ride a bike was to be a child, or poor, or in the way. But in the 1970s, something stirred. An oil crisis hit, gas prices spiked, and Americans remembered the bike. A new generation, young, idealistic, began pedaling across the country. In 1976, thousands joined the bike centennial ride from Oregon to Virginia. At the same time, in California, BMX exploded. Kids racing dirt bikes in empty lots. And in Marin County, a group of hippies started bombing down fire roads on clunkers, salvaged beach cruisers with balloon tires and converted motorcycle brakes. It was the birth of mountain biking. Cycling was back, but it had split. Road biking became sleek, fast, European. Mountain biking was rough, DIY, American. By the 1990s, the US was a hub of bicycle innovation. Not just big brands like Trek and Cannondale, but small builders, machinists, tinkerers, Paul Components, Salsa, Moots, independent fabrication. The culture was tactile, handmade, local. Then came Lance. Lance didn't invent the road bike boom, but he supercharged it. His dominance made Lycra cool. His image attracted sponsors and brought money to the sport. Suddenly, road bikes were aspirational. Shiny, expensive, high-tech. But something got lost when the brand started focusing on performance only. The quirky brands began to fade. Local races started disappearing. Cycling got sleeker, pricier, more elite. The bicycle, once a symbol of American freedom, became a luxury hobby. So when Lance fell, it wasn't just a scandal. It was the end of an era. A myth collapsed. And with it, something else slipped away. The dream of what American cycling could be. So when Lance fell, he didn't fall alone. He took American cycling with him. The sport was already fragile. Lance had been its heartbeat, its hero, its salesman, its myth. Without him, there was nothing left to sell. So the sponsors fled, the TV trucks rolled away, and so did the riders. There were no more icons, no champions on cereal boxes, no new faces to carry the torch. And the brands doubled down on performance, carbon frames, power meters, wind tunnels. But the public had moved on. The myth was gone. Cycling became niche again. Not a national passion, but a boutique hobby, a pastime of weekend warriors practiced in neighborhoods with six-figure incomes. And Los Angeles, the city once built for bikes, became a monument to their erasure. Sprawling, car-choked, unrideable. Kids stopped riding to school. Parents sold their bikes. Dust settled on garage racks. Rust bloomed on chains. The Tour de France returned to being a European affair. And the great American races, the Tour of California, the Tour of Utah, quietly disappeared. And I think about the Tour of California a lot. It's a race I never got to see. It used to wind through the same roads I ride now. Mulholland, Baldy, Gibraltar. It must have been magic. The crowd, the color, the echo. Seeing the world's greatest cyclist fly by. It would have meant everything to me. The death of these races marked the end of an era. The end of the Lance economy. The end of belief. And so American cycling wandered the desert. No heroes, no myths, no story left to tell. But the desert didn't stay empty for long. Something began to grow. Not all at once, not on television. It started on dirt roads in the American heartland. The Flint Hills of Kansas, the red clay of Oklahoma, the high plains of Colorado. Riders showed up on fat-tired road bikes, like the adventurers of old. No team buses, no soigneurs, no corporate scaffolding, yet. These weren't legacy events. They were local, human, American. And people came, not just racers, but families, volunteers, entire towns and communities. Like mountain biking before it, gravel felt uniquely American. Not built for glory, but built for joy. And off the gravel, something even more raw took root. Ultracycling, expansive, unsanctioned routes like the Tour Divide. Races that stretched across mountains and deserts, that asked riders to face themselves. It felt like a return to something ancient. The spirit of Major Taylor, of the Buffalo Soldiers, of Ruth Orkin. new heroes emerged. Lael Wilcox, an Alaskan, soft-spoken, tireless. She carries the spirit of these great American adventurers, and she's not alone. On the road, American women are thriving too. Kristen Faulkner just won Olympic gold. Corinne Lebecki remains one of the most versatile riders in the peloton. They race with grit, with grace, and without the weight of myth. And in Europe, the men didn't just disappear. They just got quieter. In 2023, Sepp Kuss, a soft-spoken rider from Durango, Colorado, won the Vuelta a España, the first American to win a Grand Tour in over a decade. Kind, humble, and underdog. Behind him, Matteo Jorgensen, Nielsen Pallas, Brandon McNulty, Quinn Simmons. Not myth makers, but craftsmen. They aren't chasing dominance. They're building something else. And back home, the change is even quieter. More people are riding. More people are remembering what bikes can do. Group rides fill parking lots on Saturday mornings. Cities once hostile to cyclists are painting lanes, lowering speed limits, connecting trails. In Portland, kids ride to school in rolling bike buses. Even Los Angeles is remembering its cycling routes. And Walmart, of all companies, the most American company potentially, has created an entire company town centered around the bicycle. This isn't a comeback. It's not a campaign. It's a shift from Lance to something slower, something kinder, something more human, and more sustainable.
I didn't know what the illness was. I didn't know what the treatment was. I didn't know what the surgeries were. I didn't know what my options were.
When did you think about cycling again?
You know, the great thing was that I thought about cycling again fairly quickly, because I thought about it on a recreational level. I thought about just the fundamentals of riding a bike. Not competing in the Tour de France, not competing in the World Championships or the Olympics or something like that, but just, okay, Lance, when can I walk into the garage, dust off the bike, and ride down the street? 500 yards. When can I do that?
What is this thing between you and a bike?
I don't know. I mean, it may be a good question. I don't know. I talk a lot about my love for the bike and the passion for it, and it's a job for me again now. I mean, they actually pay me to do it, but I love it so much that you know, today or on a vacation or in 20 years' time, I'm still going to do it.
When I was a kid growing up in Plano, you know, I would, you know, leave the house and be out in the fields, and I would head up into Allen, and I'd go around Lake Levon, or I would out to Frisco. And now it's, you know, Mom's still there, so just going back is crazy. A lot of times when I visit my mom, I always take my bike everywhere, but I'll just kind of ride around, and, you know, I'll go past Dooley Elementary where I went to middle school, and I actually went to elementary school, and middle school was Armstrong. I'll just go by these places and look at them through a 50-year-old's eyes. It's crazy. So it's, I think most people have some level of that in their lives. You're allowed to sort of hate where you grew up, I think. I don't want to live there, but, you know, it's fine to go back and see Mom.
To a certain generation of misty-eyed cycling fans, this man is the individual who got us into the sport, who made us passionate about the sport, who lived the stories that engaged us. And it's very fair to say, Greg, that you changed the sport. And, you know, as cycling fans of my generation, we watched that sport changing. We kind of lived it through you. And subsequent cycling fans, if there are any younger fans here who weren't lucky enough and fortunate enough to watch those mid-1980s and late 1980s tours, go find them on YouTube. and read about Greg, because Greg just revolutionised cycling in so many different ways.
Lance Armstrong didn't exist in a vacuum. His rise mirrored our nation's desire to feel strong again. After 9/11, America was grieving, angry. So we chased shadows overseas and we looked for clarity at home. Lance gave us clarity, a Texan, a cancer survivor, a winner. While our reputation declined internationally, Lance stood tall in Paris. Each tour victory felt like proof that we were still exceptional, still righteous, still on top. We projected our myth onto him, our thirst for dominance, our obsession with control. And when the mirror shattered, so did something in us. Since then, we've been searching. We want to rebuild. We want meaning. We need a new identity. And that's not just national, it's personal. I, like a lot of Americans, rode a bike as a kid. I grew up in Palm Springs, and my friends and I would ride for hours around the golf courses, up and down hills. No plans, no phones, just movement and heat and laughter. And those are my favorite memories from childhood. But as I got older, it got harder. The world wasn't built for bikes anymore. You needed a car. I didn't ride a bike for 10 years. But after college, I finally had some money and I bought a single speed. I built it in a parking lot, installed the fork on backwards, and rode it anyway. The front wheel would hit my foot whenever I'd turn. And then came COVID, and I was back home in California, and I got a road bike, and I started riding 15 miles, 30 miles, then everywhere, then every day. And it changed everything for me. I'm naturally anxious, prone to depression, but something about riding, the rhythm, the distance from screens, the steady motion, it's meditative. And it gave me something to push against. Cycling teaches you things. How to fix something that's broken. How to get lost and find your way back. How to keep going when everything hurts. And it brings you closer to people. We wave to each other. We talk about our bikes. It's a language of recognition, a built-in community, and a reminder that you're not alone. I think riding makes you kinder, more observant, more alive. You notice things. You listen to your body. You see the world differently on a bike, slower. And there's space for everyone. Maybe you just ride to the grocery store, maybe you commute to work, maybe you race gravel, bomb down fire roads, send it down super techie single track, ride to the beach with your kids. It's all cycling. I want to live in a country where a 17-year-old girl can bike across the continent and feel safe doing it. Where a group of kids can ride to school and no one honks. Where cycling isn't a scandal or a punchline or a myth. It's just part of how we live. For too long, we look to heroes to carry our meaning. But that's a heavy burden for anyone, even Lance Armstrong. America has a lot of problems. They won't be solved overnight, but maybe we start smaller. Maybe we stop waiting for someone else to lead the way. Maybe we just get on a bike and start moving forward. Yeah, I love being out before the sun comes up. Such a nice morning. Yeah, I really miss these trails when, after all the fires and stuff, they were closed down for a really long time. So it's nice to have them back. See how this goes. You gotta kind of take it with some speed, which I'm not doing. God. Okay, up we go.